I remember the hum of the ceiling fan that night, the way it seemed louder than usual, as if the house itself were holding its breath. My desk lamp cast a warm halo over the open notebook in front of me, the faint scratch of my pen marking time in a space that felt both safe and fragile. Down the hall, the muffled chatter of a television floated from the living room, my mother's nightly routine after another long shift. Our life was simple, if not seamless. My mother had remarried 2 years ago, introducing me to Daniel, the man I was told to call my stepfather. At first, he was polite, even generous, though his kindness always felt rehearsed, as though he were reading from a script he didn't quite believe in. He laughed easily in front of others, but behind closed doors, his expressions seemed to rest in some unspoken calculation. I'd learned to navigate him carefully, offering polite conversation without inviting closeness. Yet lately something had shifted. He had become quieter, his glances more lingering, his movements in the house more deliberate, as though he were measuring the distance between us. I told myself I was imagining it, chalking it up to stress or the slow erosion of novelty in our blended family. That evening, my mother had left early to meet a friend for coffee. She mentioned she might stop at the store afterward, so I expected at least a couple of hours alone. It was rare to have the house to myself, and I planned to make the most of it, finishing homework, maybe listening to music without headphones. The air felt still, heavy with the comfort of solitude. Then I heard it, the faint creak of a floorboard in the hallway. Not the quick, light steps of my mother's return, but a slower, deliberate rhythm. My pen paused mid-word. I waited for the familiar jingle of keys or the scrape of a grocery bag, but there was only silence. A shadow passed across the sliver of light beneath my door. The doorknob turned with a careful twist, as though whoever was on the other side didn't want to be heard. When the door opened, Daniel stood framed in the doorway. His hair was slightly mussed, as if he'd been running his hands through it. He wore a t-shirt and jeans, but there was something about the way he held himself, casual, yet too intentional, that made my stomach tighten. "Hey," he said, his voice low. "Got a minute?" It was the way he said it, not the words themselves, that made the hairs on my arms stand up. I nodded, my mouth dry, my pen still in hand. As he stepped inside and closed the door behind him, the room seemed smaller, the air heavier. Whatever conversation he had come for, I knew it wouldn't be ordinary. Daniel leaned against the edge of my desk, his eyes sweeping briefly over my open notebook before settling on me. His posture looked relaxed, but there was a precision to it, like someone placing a chess piece exactly where they wanted it. "Quiet night, huh?" he said, almost casually. The words felt like a placeholder, something to fill the silence until he found the real sentence he'd come to deliver. I nodded, unsure if speaking would invite more than I wanted to hear. He glanced toward the door, then back at me, lowering his voice. "Your mom still out?" "Yes," I said, my tone flat. "She'll be back soon." It was a small lie. I wasn't sure why I said it, but I wanted him to think her return was imminent. He smirked faintly, the kind of smile that didn't warm his face. "She's been out a lot lately, hasn't she?" His words were shaped like a question, but weighted with something closer to suspicion. I shrugged. "She has friends. Work keeps her busy." He chuckled softly, though there was no humor in it. "Yeah, busy." He let the word linger, like a hook waiting to catch something. My fingers tightened around the pen. "Did you need something?" He tilted his head, studying me. "I just wanted to talk. You and I don't really talk, do we?" "That's fine," I said, more sharply than I intended. His smile flattened. "You're a smart kid. You notice things." He tapped his finger against the desk. "Probably noticed some things about me about your mom." The air in the room seemed to press in from all sides. I tried to keep my expression neutral, but my mind was scanning back over the last few weeks. The hushed phone calls he ended abruptly when I entered a room, the way he lingered in the driveway before coming inside, as if finishing a conversation I wasn't meant to hear. He leaned closer, lowering his voice further. "Sometimes people drift. They find what they need somewhere else." My throat felt tight. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," he said slowly, "you deserve to know how things really are." And maybe, his eyes narrowed, You can understand why I make certain choices. The words landed heavy, coded in a meaning I couldn't fully name yet, but my instincts told me I didn't want to. I pushed my chair back slightly, creating a sliver of space between us. If you have something to say, say it. Daniel straightened, watching me with a kind of calculated patience. All right. But once I do, you can't unhear it. The ceiling fan hummed above us, and somewhere beyond the walls, a car passed by, its sound fading into nothing. He exhaled slowly, almost theatrically. Your mother's not the person you think she is. For a moment, I just stared at him, unsure whether I'd heard correctly or if my mind had twisted his words into something more sinister. What's that supposed to mean? I asked, my voice sharper now. Daniel didn't look away. It means she's been distracted. And not just with work or friends. He paused, watching my reaction, as if gauging how far he could push. There's someone else. The sentence struck like a sudden drop in temperature. My fingers felt numb. You're saying Mom's. I'm saying she's been spending time with a man who isn't me. He let the words hang in the air, heavy and deliberate. And I've known for a while. I searched his face for some sign that this was a cruel joke, a misplaced attempt at bonding through gossip. But there was no trace of humor, only a calm certainty that made my stomach turn. Why are you telling me this? I managed. Because I think you deserve to know what kind of person she really is, he said. His voice had softened, almost as if he wanted me to mistake it for kindness. You've always looked at her like she's flawless. She's not. She's human. And humans make choices. Something about the way he said choices made my skin prickle. My mind was racing, flipping through moments I dismissed as nothing, her unexplained late returns, the phone calls she took outside, the distant look she sometimes wore over dinner. But then another thought lodged itself in my mind. If he'd known all this time, why now? Did you confront her? I asked. He shook his head slowly. No. I didn't need to. I have my own arrangement. The words made me freeze. Arrangement. His gaze held mine unwavering. I've been seeing someone too. It felt like the floor had tilted under me. First my mother, now him, the foundation of what little family structure I thought I had was crumbling in real time. Who? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Someone close. A cold wave rushed through me. The vagueness was intentional, meant to make me think, to make me guess, to trap me in the discomfort of not knowing. You don't have to tell me, I said quickly, wanting to shut the door on whatever he was about to say next. But Daniel leaned in just slightly, his tone dropping to a near whisper. You'd be surprised how many secrets live under one roof. I felt my heartbeat in my ears. I wanted to stand, to leave, to put a wall between us, but before I could move, a sound drifted in from the hallway. The front door closed with a solid click. Footsteps approached. My mother was home early. The sound of her footsteps moved steadily down the hall, each one tightening the knot in my chest. Daniel stepped back from my desk, his posture shifting, his face smoothing into a practiced neutrality. Don't say anything, he murmured, just loud enough for me to hear. But before I could answer, my mother appeared in the doorway, grocery bag in hand. She smiled faintly, clearly unaware of the atmosphere she'd walked into. You're both in here? That's unusual. Daniel's tone turned light, almost cheerful. We were just talking. I looked at him, then at her. My heart pounded, so hard I was sure they could hear it. This was the moment. The crossroads where silence would protect the fragile illusion of our family and truth would shatter it. I swallowed. Mom. Daniel told me something. Her expression shifted, eyebrows drawing together. Told you what? Daniel's smile faltered. It's nothing important. It's important, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. I took a deep breath. He said you've been seeing someone else. And that he has too. The air seemed to still. My mother blinked, as if trying to process the words. Her gaze flicked to Daniel, searching his face for denial. He hesitated, and in that hesitation, something in her expression changed. Is it true? She asked, her voice low, sharp. Daniel raised his hands slightly, palms out. It's not how it sounds. How is it then? She pressed, stepping further into the room. He started to speak, but every word seemed to dig him deeper. We've both been unhappy. We found comfort elsewhere. Her face paled, and I could see the weight of betrayal settling over her. She didn't cry, not yet. She just stared at him, the silence between them louder than any argument. Finally, she set the grocery bag on the floor. Get out. Come on, he said, his voice dipping into pleading. We can.
Get out.
There was no mistaking the steel in her tone. Daniel lingered a moment longer, as if hoping she'd soften, but when she didn't, he turned and walked out. The sound of the front door closing echoed through the house. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. I sat at my desk, unsure if I'd done the right thing, or just tore apart what was left of our family. She crossed the room and sat on the edge of my bed, her hands folded in her lap. Thank you, she said quietly, though her eyes were distant. I needed to know. We stayed there in silence, two people bound not by shared blood, but by a truth that had left us both a little more fragile. Later that night, when the house was dark and the only sound was the steady hum of the ceiling fan, I thought about Daniel's words, about secrets under one roof. Some secrets destroy walls. Others, they reveal the cracks that were always there.